Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the Hoosier High School Huddle. My name is Craig Crash Collins. We are joined by B. Scott, Brandon Scott himself, and we are ready to get into this brand new podcast on the 3C Media channel. So if you're listening in on Spotify, if you're listening in on Apple Podcasts, if you're over on the 3C Media YouTube channel, make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you're hitting all those likes, hitting the follows, all the things you have to do, because we are finally ready to get going with the Hoosier High School Huddle, the maiden voyage. We're going to talk about the girls' state finals. It's going to be an electric weekend of basketball at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and then we're also going to talk some boys sectional play. As we're going to give the girls their weekend here, and then we're going to get more into the boys in depth next week. But we are going to talk about some sectionals to look out for as those get underway on Tuesday. So, B. Scott, are you ready to talk some high school basketball?
Yeah, I mean, this is the state of Indiana, and we are known for basketball, in particular high school basketball. I mean, so much so they made a movie about it.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what that movie's called. I think it might be. It's Indiana. It's just Indiana basketball, right? It's not like it's a well-known movie or anything, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we all know exactly where that gym that they filmed the movie is located, Knightstown, Indiana.
Yeah, one of the teams we're going to talk about a little bit later is actually playing in that gym, I believe, tonight. In Monroe Central, the boys team, to give you a little bit of a teaser for that. And then it's not as if the Indiana Pacers themselves didn't do a rendition of their jerseys. So I mean, pretty well known. So yeah, we're dabbling finally in the high school basketball. So I hope you guys are very excited. Episode 1, and like I said, we're going to be talking about the girls' state finals. And let's go ahead and get right into it here. We're going to go 1A and go right down the list here. Things are going to kick off Saturday morning. You've got number 3 Lafayette Central Catholic. They're 24-4 against number 7 Tecumseh. They're 19-8. We do want to preface this by saying you guys know more about your teams than we do, so if we do mess anything up,
Tecumseh is actually 20-8 according to the IHSAA championship game notes.
Gotcha. So everything kind of
we're off to a rough start.
It's because what happens is that I go off of John Harrell and Max Preps, and sometimes there's discrepancy between those two websites. That's what I was also going to get ready and go into, because I know the Indiana State Finals, their bracket that they go on, or not their bracket, the rankings they go on are one set of rankings, but the ones I went off of are the AP, because it's AP for each class, because obviously it's not, there's class basketball now, so it didn't make sense to me to go by the rankings that are all lumped together into one. So so Lafayette Central Catholic and Tecumseh are both unranked according to the state finals program, but because they are ranked in the AP poll, I've got them down as ranked.
Yeah.
So it's number 3 Lafayette Central Catholic against number 7 Tecumseh. There's been no prior meetings over the last 20 years or in the tournament. Looking at LCC's path to Gainbridge, they were in Sectional 54. They won their first game 56-18 over Clinton Central, then won the Sectional Championship 80-35 over North Vermilion. Then the regionals, they won 61-43 over number 4 Blue River, and then they won 48-33 over North Miami. And then in the semi-state, they won 52-46 over number 8 North White. It's their 4th state finals appearance, first since 2016 when they defeated Covenant Christian in the finals to win back-to-back titles. They're also 3-0 in state finals, so the program has never lost when they've made it this far. For Tecumseh, the Braves' path to Gainbridge Fieldhouse, they were in Sectional 64. They defeated Spring Valley 59-46. They defeated Cannleton 64-9, and they defeated Northeast DuBois, who was number 9 team in 1A, 45-38 in overtime. In the regionals, they defeated number 11 Trinity Lutheran. They defeated 67-56. They defeated number 2 Lanesville 47-46, and then in the semi-state, they beat number 1 Waldron 54-42. It's their first state finals appearance in state finals. For the program, it's their first state finals appearance. So that's pretty incredible. I mean, the farthest you've ever gone, and you knock off the number 2 and number 1 team in the
and now you have to try to knock off number 3. So
right. So we just write down the list there. So what we're gonna do in these previews is we're going to do a player to watch, we're going to do a key to the game, and then we're also going to give our predictions. So I'm just going to go through mine, you go through yours, B. Scott, and then we'll kind of discuss. So for my player to watch, I'm going to go with Braves sophomore Jenna Donahue. She is 29th. She's the 29th leading scorer in 1A. She's averaging 12 points, 7 rebounds per game. In the tournament, she's averaging 15 points per game. She had 17 points, 12 rebounds, a double-double in the regional win over Lanesville. She's also the leading scorer and rebounder from that, and went 11 for 15 from the line in that game against Lanesville. And then the semi-state win over Waldron, she had 13 points, 8 rebounds in that contest. And only she and Cabry Oxley, who is 4th, are in the top 50 in scoring in 1A, and she'll have to be on point to supplement Oxley. So, I mean, we could talk about Cabry Oxley. I mean, that would be a player to hone in on as well. But,
I'll be talking about her in a little bit.
Right. So
as well.
you need those other players that'll help be that supporting cast, and I think that's really going to be key. I mean, you saw it in the regional win, and you saw it in the semi-state win that she had to have some pretty solid games in order to get Tecumseh as far as they've gone. So I think she's going to be the player to watch. As far as the key to the game, I'm going to go with the fact that Lafayette Central Catholic needs to limit the Braves' opportunities and force mistakes. Tecumseh is a better rebounding team than LCC. They're 9th in 1A in rebounds per game. They're 3rd in offensive rebounds. So, I mean, you've got 2 elite scorers in 1A in Oxley and Donahue. And so you're going to need to limit those opportunities. When they miss, you need to make sure it's one shot, they miss, and then you get the rebound. You can't let them get a lot of second chance opportunities on the board. And you also have to make the turnovers count. If you can force them into some mistakes, then that's really going to be key, in if LCC wants to win the game. The Braves also average 14 turnovers per game as well. So if the Knights, like I said, can limit second chance opportunities on possessions and force turnovers, then I think they'll be in good shape. And so I guess before I do predictions, go ahead and give your player to watch and key to the game, B. Scott.
So when I was looking over the rosters and I saw Lafayette Central Catholic, I did have to look just to make sure there wasn't an Anthrop on this roster. The first family of Lafayette Central Catholic. There was not. Just so you're all aware, I think the Anthrops have run out for Lafayette Central Catholic. But my player to watch does come from LCC, and that is junior guard Tori Thompson. She's currently averaging 14.6 points on the season. What really stands out to me, though, is that she's shooting over 35% from 3-point range. And what's impressive is that, she's the team's leading scorer, but she's not even the highest shooting percentage from the 3-point arc on the team. That honor actually goes to Caitlin Denning. I may not even be pronouncing her name correct, but when you look at Tecumseh, they definitely go through they go through an interior game. That is definitely how they roll. And for Lafayette, this is kind of my key to a game. So rolling from one end right into the other, all kind of rolls together. In order for Lafayette Central Catholic to pull this one out, you have to limit the opportunities on the inside for Tecumseh. And 2, you need to be hitting your marks out from the perimeter. And they do have the sharpshooters that can keep Tecumseh needing to really stretch the game. If Tecumseh, if the Knights are off the mark from 3-point range, Tecumseh can really go to their inside scoring and they can command control of this game. But if the Knights are hitting from all cylinders outside of the arc, that is going to force Tecumseh to go away from their inside game plan and try to match score for score with Lafayette Central Catholic. I am going with my pick. I am going with the Knights of Lafayette Central Catholic. I just feel like, if you look at their size alone, they're a bigger team height wise. The guard I'm talking about, she's 5'8", whereas the leading scorer for Tecumseh, who's their interior forward, let me get her name back up just because we're talking. Cabry Oxley.
Yeah, Cabry Oxley. Yeah.
She's 5'10". So we're looking at our lead scoring guard at 5'8", the interior presence for Tecumseh at 5'10". Yeah, Tecumseh does have a player that's 6 foot, which is, we're looking at height wise, and women's basketball, it's very much different compared to men's, obviously. But I feel like the size is going to be a factor for Lafayette Central Catholic, and also that outside shooting. If you are interior focused and the opposing team has sharpshooters like that, it's going to be hard to completely shut them down. So I'm going Lafayette Central Catholic if they get hot from behind the arc.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go the other way. I got the Bravos, continuing their run. And it's, look, I've seen a lot of losses in my day on, at the hands for my alma mater, Cowan, at the hands of Lafayette Central Catholic, mainly in baseball. And I was really hoping that wasn't going to be the case again this year when Cowan won the sectional and got to their second consecutive regional. But I'm just enamored with what this Tecumseh team has been able to do. I mean, they have 2 top 50 scores, which, this game, as far as like the statistics go, is a very evenly matched game. And so I think that's really important to have 2 solid scores. And then I just like the story. A team that went into the tournament, they were obviously you take the 6 wins away that they've got in the tournament. They went in, I know 5 games over 500 is pretty significantly over 500, but that's still only 5 games over 500 going into the tournament play. They were 13-8, and so not only are they 13-8, but they go into the tournament, they beat the number 2 team, they beat the number 1 team, and now standing in their way of their first ever state title is the number 3 team. So it's going to be really fun for them. Going up against LCC with their prestige in every sport, you alluded to it earlier as well. So I gotta go Braves. I gotta go Braves on this one, just because I love the story, and I really hope that it pays off.
Yeah, that's a great point. That the story is awesome to be able to see a team to potentially knock off 1, 2, and 3 the ranked teams, and the number 1 through 3 ranked teams in Class A on their way to a state championship. It's the whole story of the team that got hot at the right time, and that's what you talk about at any level. Like, are you peaking too early, or are you peaking at the right time? And obviously with Tecumseh, it looks like they're peaking at the right time. That is also one of the great things about Indiana high school basketball is, everybody gets into the sectionals. You don't have to play your way in, which I know some states, they have it that way and they love it. It's super competitive. It makes
some states you have to, with like how
right, like Texas.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but it makes it the regular season that much more meaning, because let's be honest, it's a draw. It's a draw for sectionals here. Sometimes it doesn't really matter if you are the number 1 ranked team in the state and you are totally undefeated. You may not even get that first round bye. It's sectionals in the higher classes. So it also, honestly, it doesn't matter. But yeah, and let's just be honest, in a lot of years, the 1A game for both men's and women's is typically one of the most entertaining games, because the fan bases are some of the best. Mm-hmm. You think, well, wait a second, they're small schools. No, that doesn't mean anything. Actually, that means more, because when you get to these larger schools, they are like, there's a lot of schools around Indianapolis. So they have a following of just that school. Well, these small schools have the following of an entire small town, and they show up for these events. It's really a cool atmosphere when you're watching the 1A game, because of the fan following. Basically, if you drove through the town,
there's not going to be
for some of these towns, there's like nobody there. It's very reminiscent if you watch like old high school football movies from like Texas and everything, and it's like the barbershop shut down and all that. That's what it's very much like. So the 1A game is always usually one of the more exciting games, both on the court and in the stands, atmosphere wise.
Right. Let's go ahead and move now on to 2A. You've got number 11 Frankton 23-5 against number 8 Forest Park. They're 25-3. No prior meetings over the last 20 years or in the tournament. Frankton.
It's a common theme here so far. No
Yeah.
prior meetings.
Exactly. So, which I like. I like when there's schools meeting for the first time. Frankton Eagles, their path to Cambridge, they were in sectional 40. They defeated Alexandria 60-41. They defeated Monroe Central 59-44, and then they defeated LaPel in the championship 56-41. Their regionals, they defeated Carroll of Flora 64-52. They defeated number 2 Winchester 60-56. And then in the semi-state, it was a knockdown, drag-out game. They defeated number 4 Fairfield 35-34. It's their second state finals appearance in 3 seasons. They lost 70-28 to Linton Stockton in 2020. For the Forest Park Rangers, their path to Cambridge, in sectional 48, they defeated South Spencer 54-43. They defeated Emmonsville Mater Dei 37-26 and defeated Southridge 42-24. Then in the regionals, they defeated Eastern Pekin 50-46. They defeated North Knox 46-39, and then in the semi-state they defeated University 53-44. It's their first state finals appearance in 22 years. They lost 62-60 to Fort Wayne Lures in their only state finals appearance in 2000. So player to watch, key to the game. For me, what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at a good performance by Rangers junior Amber Treader. She averages a double-double per game. I mean, that's pretty wild. Wow. 17 points, 10 rebounds. She's the only player on the court who can say that. She leads her team in both of those categories as well, points and rebounds. She also leads the team in free throw percentage with 68%. So pretty wild. I think she's going to be kind of the big difference maker. Also, got to give a quick shout-out to Emma Sperry of Frankton. She won the 3C Media Girls Player of the Week last week. We give those out every week, so congratulations to her as well. As far as keys to the game, both teams play extremely well on defense. Both allow 37 points per game on the season. The Rangers have allowed 37 points per game in the tournament. Frankton is 2-3 when held to 37 points or less this season. The Eagles have allowed 47 points per game, so their defense has been a little lax in the tournament so far. Forest Park is 8-2 when held to 47 points or less. So whichever team can survive a potential slower paced defensive battle, from what it looks like, I think that's the team that's going to win. Now, I think it is also, like I said, of note that the defense for Frankton hasn't been quite as sharp, and I think, especially when you're going up against a player like Treader, could be their Achilles heel.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this game, it's hard not to look at any other player than Amber Treader. I mean, looking over the stat sheets, you see 17 and 10, and it's just like that pops off the chart immediately at you. And then you're like, oh, she's got to be a contender for Miss Basketball. And it's like, nope, she's a junior. Oh, okay. So next year we'll be talking more about her next year. So yeah, she's definitely my player to watch as well, just because those stats, like I said, they're eye popping. You just don't averaging a double is impressive. It's not an easy thing to do. So yeah, definitely Amber Treader is my player to watch. Key to the game. Yeah, like you said, both of these teams are really good defensively. For me, the key to the game is whoever can weather the storm early, because both teams are going to come out firing on all cylinders defensively. I mean, these are defensive-oriented teams. So the team that can kind of make their way through that initial intensity, because it is a state championship game. You come out with a different intensity in a state championship game, in any sport. Trust me, I've been there. And so if you can weather that early defensive onslaught and not get knocked off of your game plan by it, that's going to be key. And honestly, because of that, I have to lean more towards Forest Park, because of Amber Treader. When you have a player that's putting up numbers like Amber Treader is, that does help with weathering that early defensive onslaught that is going to come from the high energy of the game. So my pick to win the game is Forest Park. Also, you gotta love their mascot name, the Forest Park Rangers. I mean, they just set themselves up perfectly for that. That's sometimes it fits too well, you know. And to go off the beaten path of the originals, like I was a Wildcat. I mean, how many other schools in Indiana are Wildcats?
Right.
Quite a few.
Pretty common. Yeah.
I mean, you said Mater Day, and I was thinking, oh yeah, the Evansville Mater Day Wildcats had some really good battle. We had some really good battles with them. You know, the Lawrence North Wildcats. So you know, but Forest Park Rangers, way to capitalize on that.
That's just understanding the assignment. I've got I've got Forest Park as well. It's kind of like, it kind of reminds me of the Frankfurt hot dogs. Yeah.
Or the Speedway spark plugs.
Right. You're just like, you know what? There's no other way to do it. No. You got to do it that way. I've got Forest Park as well. We're in lockstep there. They've got the best player on the court, Amber Treader, and Frankton's defense hasn't been as sharp. So Frankton, I love you. It was a great ride. We loved giving you some love,
I feel like you could also look at Frankton a little bit more, but like you alluded to, like you said, Frankton's defense hasn't played up to their season standard that they set for themselves here in the postseason. And that's a big issue when you're going up against a team that has a high scoring player, a really good go-to. If your defense is struggling in the postseason, you've gotten this far. I mean, that's great, but you're really going to have to get back to your roots, your basics in defense, and if you really want to try to slow down a player like Amber Treader. So that's why I'm leaning more towards Forest Park, because of they're still playing good defense, Frankton is, but it's not as good as it was earlier this season.
Right.
You would like to see them playing up to that level again, but the way they've been the past few weeks, it hasn't been up to the same level.
Now on to the night session, the 3A state final, number 1.
This one's going to be a fun one.
Oh, yeah.
This is probably going to be one of the best games of the whole weekend.
You've got number 1, South Bend, Washington, 26-3 against number 4, Silver Creek, 26-2. This is a rematch of last season's 3A state final, in which Silver Creek won 54-48. It's the first rematch ever for 3A, which is pretty incredible. South Bend, Washington's the Panthers, their path to Cambridge. In Sectional 19, they defeated Jimtown 67-12. They defeated South Bend St. Joseph 80-32, and they defeated number 8 Mishawaka Marion 76-44. In the regionals, they defeated Culver Academy 60-30, and defeated Griffith 64-25. And then in the semi-state, they defeated number 2 Garrett 66-39. They're seeking their first state title since 2007. They've lost 3 straight state finals appearances. Actually, they lost in 2008, 2009, and then in 2021. The Silver Creek Dragons, their path to Cambridge, in Sectional 30, they defeated Scottsburg 62-36, defeated Madison 52-48, and number 12 Corydon Central 65-56. In the regionals, they defeated Rushville 48-44, they defeated Gibson Southern 53-39, and then in the semi-state, they defeated Chittard 64-54. They're looking to go 2-2 in program history in state finals. The basketball program went both the basketball program as a whole, the boys and girls, won last year's 3A state championship. So they're trying to go 3 for 3 over the last 3A state championships. So a lot of threes to talk about in regards to this state final. And as far as player to watch, we're going to plug the 3C Media Player of the Week again, because it was Mila Reynolds who won the inaugural one. She is a Maryland commit. She's the 5th leading scorer in the state. She is 2nd in 3A. She's averaging 22 points per game. During that run that, where she got the player of the week, I think she was shooting like over 50% from 3. She was playing just incredible basketball. She's averaging 19 points per game during the tournament. She's got a double-double in 4 of the 6 tournament games. And she has just been an absolute menace, on the court, as a big reason why this South Bend Washington team is just so doggone good. Key to the game, the Panthers have a plus 30 point differential this season. Last year versus Silver Silver Creek, South Bend, Washington's 48 points was their second lowest output of the season. 4 of their 6 losses last season happened when the Panthers scored less than 50 points. They have failed to score 50 points just twice this season, although both of those games are wins. So, I mean, I guess take that stat for what it's worth. But as long as South Bend starts hot and stays hot shooting, I love their chances to get revenge. So it's one of those things where as long as they don't have a bad shooting night, as long as they are able to get their offense going, unlike what happened last year against Silver Creek, I think they're going to be in good shape.
Yeah, my player to watch is I'm looking ahead in my notes and I'm getting my names all mixed up. But yeah, Mila Reynolds as well. I mean, just the numbers for her are eye-popping as well. I got it pulled back up here again. Thank goodness. Hang on, let me check my notes. Also, 6'3". She's going to be the tallest player one of the tallest players on the court. That is also going to be a key to Silver Creek as well. They have, how many is it? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 players 6 foot or taller. And height is going to be a real advantage in this one. If you can control the interior and control the boards, get up those high percentage shots, that's going to bode very well for you. Now, what's funny is that, Milo Reynolds, she's averaging 21.6 points per game, 8.1 rebounds, but you're like, oh, and she's 6'3". You're like, oh yeah, she's getting a lot of those layups or just around the hoop. She's getting those easy baskets. But she's also shooting 35% from 3. I mean, she's kind of a jack of all trades, and that's a type of player that's really difficult to stop. That has both the size and the shooting ability, which is a very modern player. So because of that, for South Bend, Washington, control the paint and just keep doing what your formula is, because whatever it is working. And that is why I am going with South Bend, Washington to win the 3A state championship. Yeah. They're gonna split them. Silver Creek last year and South Bend, Washington this year.
I mean, it's only right. It's only fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got South Bend, Washington as well, so we're again in agreement. Their average margin of victory in the tournament is 38.5 points. And that includes wins over 2 top 10 teams, including the team that is ranked number 2. They defeated number 8 Mishawaka Marion by 32 points, and they defeated number 2 Garrett by 27 points. So it's not like they've had these knockdown drag out games. Against these higher ranked opponents or anything. I mean, I guess they're number 1. So these other ranked opponents, in the tournament, it's not like they've had these, epic matchups. They have had epic matchups. It's just been all been one-sided where they're epically, just scoring the basketball and being insane. So, they're a team on a mission. They've got a chip on their shoulder after last year's game against Silver Creek, and they've got the best player on the court in Mila Reynolds. So yeah, I'm right there with you with South Bend, Washington. So yeah, with that, I mean, we've been in agreement the last 2. The only game we disagreed on so far is the 1A. I got Tecumseh, you've got a LCC. So let's go ahead and move on to the 4A state final, the final game of the night on Saturday. I think it's an 8:30 tip. Number 5 Noblesville, they're 24-4 against number 2 Frankton. They are 28-1. Noblesville has won the only tournament meeting all time, but that was over 20 years ago. The Noblesville Millers path to Cambridge. They were in Sectional 8, where they defeated number 11 Zionsville 62-46. They defeated Carmel 57-48 and defeated number 7 Fishers 54-48. In the regionals, they defeated number 1 Homestead 61-40. They defeated number 10 Fort Wayne Schneider 78-63. And then in the semi-state, they defeated number 4 Crown Point 62-41, making their first state finals appearance since 1990. Their only state title came in 1987. For the Franklin Grizzly Cubs, their path to Cambridge, they played in Sectional 13. They defeated Shelbyville 73-36. They defeated Center Grove 56-49 and defeated Greenwood 65-44. In the regionals, they defeated number 11 East Central 78-65, and they defeated number 3 Bedford North Lawrence 58-52. And then in the semi-state, they defeated Mooresville 49-46. It's their second ever state finals appearance. They first made the state finals in 1998. They have 0 state finals, so they're seeking their first. State title. So as far as player to watch goes, I debated, with a couple of different players. There's going to be a lot of talented girls on the court in this game. But I'm going to, stick with the 3C Media Player of the Week run that we've got going on here. I mean, there's a reason why
that's who I'm going with too.
It's just,
it's hard. Ashlyn Shade.
Right. It's hard to ignore what she's been able to do on the court.
But it's also hard to ignore the fact that she's recruited and going to play for Gino at UConn.
Right.
I mean, let's just be honest. It's UConn and it's Gino. He only takes the best.
Right. So, I mean, that's enough said right there. Only a junior as well. She's the 8th leading scorer in the state, 3rd in 4A. She's averaging 20 points per game. She's the only player on the court with that average and is only one of 2 players in the state finals with that average. So it's her and Mila Reynolds who are the top scorers that'll be on display on Saturday. She's averaged 21 points per game in the tournament, so she's had an even better state finals, state tournament going for her. She shoots 89% from the free throw line, so she can do no wrong. If you're Franklin, do not foul number 12. It's going to be a bad time.
The thing is, she probably knows how to force it and get to the line.
Right, true. That also helps. She's second on the team in three-point shooting. She shoots 47% from the floor. And then, like I said, she's a 3C Media Player of the Week recipient. So, I mean, just an amazing athlete, and I'm excited to watch her compete on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, what more can I say? Like I said, she's been recruited by Gino.
Yeah.
And
no,
I'm not okay. I know his last name. I just Oriama.
Oriama. Yeah, Oriama. Yeah, something like that.
I'm not even going to attempt it. He goes by everybody knows him by Gino. It's Gino. So yeah, I mean, now you're putting a future UConn player in a championship game. I mean, come on, it's championship caliber. These players are champion players. So my key to the game is Franklin, don't let her go off. Don't let Ashlyn Shade go off on you. It's going to be tough. It will, just because that's just when the best player. She's the best player on the court, hands down, best player. So actually, you know what? I say don't let her go off, but then I realize, you know what? She's going to get hers.
Right.
Plain and simple. Don't let any other players go off. That's the key. I mean, that was always the thing. I guess growing up as Pacers fans, it was always, okay, Michael Jordan's going to get his. Okay, LeBron James is going to get his. Don't let the supporting cast get theirs. You can shut down the support. If you can shut down the supporting cast, you can win the game. But when you have a player the caliber of Ashlyn Shade, it rubs off on the rest of the team. I mean, I went to Lawrence North from 2002 through 2006. They know a few things about winning championships. Hold on. The life of somebody working in social media, I have to get somebody logged into an Instagram account real quick.
Nice.
So Craig, go ahead and give your pick, and I'll give my pick when we get back.
No, you're all good. So hey, I mean that's what you do on these live broadcasts. It is live, ladies and gentlemen. So my key to the game, Franklin's lone loss versus Westfield. I wanted to take a look at that because B Scott, you're absolutely right as far as the whole Mila Reynolds, Ashlyn Shade, they're gonna get theirs, and because that's what I was originally going to say with South Bend, Washington is contain Mila Reynolds, but you're just not going to be able to do that. You can't contain Ashland Shade. So I was looking at the lone loss for Frankton on the year because luckily enough, Frankton, you only lost one game, so I can just look at that game and see what you did wrong, and we're good to go. So the loss was against Westfield, 42-42. Yeah, there you go.
My home.
Exactly. The loss was in overtime. It was a bottom 5 shooting night in regards to Ashland Traylor. That's that's the key player on the Frankton side of things. It was their worst shooting night in terms of points per shot and adjusted field goal percentage. So if you're an analytics person, it was their worst shooting night of their season. And their second worst shooting night in regards to field goal percentage. Also, what's key to this is that Noblesville allows 44 points per game, and the Grizzly Cubs have only failed to score 44 twice this season. They're 27-0 when scoring 45 points or more. So, what the standard night of, as far as their Noblesville defense gives up, Franklin's used to getting wins with only, 45 points, or they can get it done on a low scoring affair. So that's just kind of a key thing to note. And so my prediction, I really wanted to go Noblesville here, but I'm gonna go with Franklin. I feel like we're gonna disagree, B. Scott, but I'm gonna go with. Are we gonna disagree? They give it away. Yeah. Okay, sorry, my bad. I got Franklin. They haven't, because here's the thing. Here's the thing that kind of wowed me and tipped me back over to the Grizzly Cubs side. They haven't lost in regulation this year. All of their only loss came in overtime. So I mean, it's just if they hit one more shot in regulation, they're undefeated. And we're not talking about, we're talking about a team going at an undefeated year. So they're a team that shoots 53% from the field. Noblesville shoots 41%. The Cubs are the better 3-point shooting team, and they're the better shooting team in terms of points per game and point differential. They've got a leader on their team in Ashland Traylor. I mentioned her a little bit earlier. I think she can. I don't know that she'll equal the same effort as Ashland Shade, but she'll definitely be someone who can keep the Grizzly Cubs in the she'll be able to keep up with Ashland Shade. You made the Michael Jordan comparison, as far as them getting theirs. It's kind of like having Reggie Miller. I wouldn't necessarily put Reggie Miller in front of Michael Jordan, but having Reggie Miller definitely puts you in the conversation and puts you in position to be successful. So I think that's what's going to end up helping the Grizzly Cubs out. Traylor is the 17th best scorer in the state, 6th in 4A. So they've got another great scorer in Ashland Traylor who can go toe-to-toe with Shade, and they've just been this amazing shooting team all season. So it just seems like from the numbers, unless they have the worst night of their season again, like they did against Westfield, they'll be in good shape.
Yeah, so spoiler, I'm going with Noblesville. Like I was saying before, real life tore me away. Like I was saying, I went to Lawrence North back in 2002 through 2006, and they won their fair share of state championship basketball games. When you have a player the caliber of a Ashland Shade, or like we had a Greg Oden and a Mike Conley, that type of caliber player rubs off on the supporting cast and the other players around them and makes them that much better, because it's not just game day on the court when it rubs off. It's the work ethic and the practice, the off-season practices where it helps everybody get better. It's the same way, I wrestled. It was the same way. We had one of the best wrestlers in the country in our room, and that it rubbed off on everybody. He pushed himself, we pushed ourselves as hard as he did, and it pays off. So that I'm going with Noblesville, because that kind of mentality, it's a hard one to come by. Not everybody can has a player that has that mentality to take it to that next level in their practice room or on their practice court. I call it a practice room. It's the wrestler in me. We have practice rooms, but on the practice court, so they just she will make everybody else around her that much better. And I think, like I stated earlier, if you have been recruited by Gino, you have a killer instinct to you that shines in moments like this. And, he only recruits champions. I mean, let's be honest, they're always up there contending for championships at UConn. Probably no different this year. So I'm going with Noblesville mostly because of what they can be with Ashlyn Shade at the helm of that team, and what she can rub off on the cast around her. And like I said, when you're recruited at that kind of level, it doesn't matter, honestly, who you're recruited by. But if you're recruited at that high end level, you have a killer instinct about you. And I think that's what ultimately puts Noblesville over the edge on this one. I think this is going to be a fun one, as well. I don't think there's really going to be a bad game.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. I think it's going to be a fun day.
If for some reason Ashlyn Shade comes out and is just cold, this is the game this is one of the games that I feel like has the chance to get away. Maybe, even 3A has a chance potentially to get away.
I mean, looking
with South Bend Washington with their win margin, that has the possibility to become a runaway. I think if I had to rank them in give one of these games the best chance of it becoming a runaway, I would say 3A is probably the most likely.
Put it this way, they could get out of hand, but we don't expect them to, because all these games kind of match up really well, and we're really excited to see what happens. So, it's going to be a fun day of basketball. To kind of recap here, B. Scott and I are in lockstep on 2A and 3A. We both have Forest Park and South Bend, Washington. We disagree on the 1A and 4A. I've got Tecumseh and Franklin. B. Scott has Lafayette Central Catholic and Noblesville. So it's going to be a fun day of basketball. And,
like I said with 1A, with Lafayette Central Catholic, I think it would have been a lot easier of a pick if they had an anthrop.
Right.
I'm just going to say it.
So shifting over now to the boys game. First of all, though, we want to remind you that you can follow us at 3C Media Sports on Twitter. You can like us on Facebook, 3C Media. Go over to the YouTube channel. I mean, obviously, if you're watching it right now on the live stream, you're on the YouTube channel. So thank you.
If you're watching it on the live stream right now, I'm gonna say something that I always hear other YouTubers say.
Yeah.
Make sure you hit the subscribe and ring the bell.
Yes.
So we would love to have more subscribers and set up notifications for yourself, so that way anytime we post new stuff or go live right here on YouTube.
Right. We're going to have some content coming out this weekend as well, so make sure you're locked into that. Also, 3C Media on TikTok. There's some videos over there if you wanted to go support the content there. And then remember that you can listen to us, now that we're up and running, you're going to hear us, through the boys sectionals and state finals as well. So make sure...
We apologize in advance.
Yeah, make sure that you're locked in, on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Anchor and all that good stuff. So make sure that you're locked into the Hoosier High School Huddle. So moving on here to the boys sectionals, they get underway on Tuesday. So we're, like I said before in the open, we're going to get more in depth with those predictions coming up next week. But we do want to give out our most intriguing brackets, some brackets in the sectionals to keep an eye on. We're going to do kind of the same thing we did, with the girls' state finals. We're going to go 1A through 4A. So in 1A, for me, the sectional to watch, I'm going to go Sectional 63. That one's going to be an absolute dogfight. It's going to be a crazy, sectional, crazy bracket playing out. You've got number 1, North Davies. They also have to contend with number 4, the winner of number 4, Lagodi. You have number 1 North Davies. Then one of the opening games is number 4 Lagodi against number 16 Orleans. The Lions defeated Orleans on February 2nd, and they're 4-2 against teams in this sectional, and the winner faces number 5 Bar Reeve, who is 5-1 against sectional 63 teams. So you've got a lot of chaos happening early, and that's what I love. And I'm gonna state this again at the end as well. That's what I love about these sectionals, and that's what I love about like basketball tournaments in general. Is like it's kind of like the NCAA tournament. I love the opening weekend, and I love the Final Four. I'll watch the Sweet Sweet 16 and Elite 8, obviously there's still good games, but just having all that chaos in the first round is what gets me going, and then I want to see who wins overall. So just so all the randomness and chaos that can happen in that sectional 1A, where you've got basically 3 of the top 5 teams in 1A going head to head, and only one can make it out. That's really intriguing to me.
Yeah, I agree. Sectional 63 is when you look at these sectionals that we're talking about here tonight, a lot of times with these sectionals, it's the team. It could most likely produce the state champion.
Yeah,
and I know people love it and people hate it, which I understand both sides. You love it because it makes for great basketball, but it's always then just eyes on that sectional, and then the other sectionals get overlooked. People hate it because they think, well, hey, look, if the 2 best teams in the state are in this sectional, there's got to be a way for us to get them to be able to face each other in the state finals. Like it, just because the way sectionals are made up, it's like sometimes people think, hey, it's just not fair to the team that loses in the sectional finals here, or they may not even meet in the sectional finals. They may meet in like the second round of sectionals, and then a team that has the capability of winning a state championship or being a state runner-up, and boom, they're knocked out in game 2 of sectionals. And it's like, man, all their whole season that they put up a really great resume, just it's gone. And that's a common theme for these sectionals here, is that the state champion will most likely come out of these sectionals we talk about tonight. And that's very typical. The only one I think that won't be it is the 4A sectional. But regardless, it's always the most entertaining sectional. We'll get to that one here in a little bit. But yeah, when you have, number one, you have the number 1 team in your sectional, that's always all eyes on you. But when you also have a consistent state champion finalist in Bar Reeve, that also draws in a lot of attention on you as well. I think, off air, we were talking about, I was like, there's always these 1A schools that just kind of pop up and you're like, is that a new school? I've never heard of them before. And I was like, I never had heard of Hauser, but then I ended up walking the hallways at Hauser one time, and they ended up winning the state championship, and they beat Bar Reeve. So Bar Reeve is one of those teams that's always in the conversation. They just have a steady program historically. So when you have historically steady programs, that gets a lot of eyes on you, and that's always a fun one. That's fun. It's a fun team to watch because of the history behind them.
And you mentioned, some of these, big matchups, even in the second round. That's where I'm going for sectional, or my 2A sectional 40. You've got a lot of the ranked teams were spread out. So that's nice. There weren't more than I think like 2 in most of the brackets. So I'm going to go with, like I said, a potential second round matchup. Number 1, Monroe Central, who could potentially lock up with number 7, Wapahani. The Golden Bears, Monroe Central, they go up against Elwood in their first round. Wapahani goes up against Frankton, who did beat them back in December. So it's not like it's a guarantee that it could happen. But if they both win, we get a Bears team that at the time of recording this, they are playing at the Hoosier Gym. The game's actually probably over by now. But at the time of, this live stream, was undefeated, and going up against a Raiders squad that earlier this month was a point away from handing MC their first loss. Wapahani has the number 2 and number 7 scores in 2A, Isaac Andrews being number 2, Aiden Franks being number 7. Andrews scored 29 points in their earlier meeting. You have Bears senior Jackson Olam, who is Monroe Central's leading scorer. He had 18 points against Wapahani. So it's a game that's in kind of my area of the state, around Delaware County and that kind of thing. So I wanted to kind of give that sectional a shout out. But you've got an opportunity to have a pretty exciting game, a very, very good game, a game that probably should have been the sectional championship game potentially, in that second round.
See, it's a theme. It's a theme. Yeah, I love, like I said, I love the sectional that has the number 1 team, because when you're playing the number 1 team in your class, in any sport, I'm going to say in any sport, or not really the pros, because they don't have rankings in front of their names. But any sport that has a ranking in front of somebody, the lower ranked team always plays up, always. And you always have, you tune into these sectionals that have the number one ranked team because you want to see if they're going to get knocked off in sectionals. And because one, if you're a fan of another school that may have to play them at regionals or semi-state or something like that, secretly you're rooting for them to lose because you want your team to have an easier path to the state championship, much like people do for the NCAA tournament. And you know, I would love to see number one Auburn lose in the sometime before the Sweet 16. So, you know, my Purdue Boilermakers have an easier road as a 2 seed to get to the Final Four, you know, those types of things. So honestly, because of how close these two teams played earlier in the season, I would honestly, in the second round, put Monroe Central on upset alert.
Yeah. Speaking of which, their game was canceled due to inclement weather, so they
couldn't get to it. They couldn't get to it.
Yeah, so they're still undefeated at the time,
and they didn't get to play at the Hoosier Gym.
Yeah, because they're probably not. Yeah, they're not going to reschedule it because it's this late in the year. So that's a bummer.
It is a bummer. But yeah, I this is, and also I see Wapahani in there. Kind of a funny off story. Back when I was in high school, went to the regional track and field meet. It was, well, you know, Lawrence North, North Central, or Warren Central, all these like top track and field powers that be in the state of Indiana, especially at that time. And Wapahani was also in that regional. And my dad went with me, and all the races, Wapahani unfortunately finished last in all of them. And the mic system at North Central was not the greatest at the time. So he was like, what are they saying is the name of that school? I was like, I don't know. And he goes, it sounds like they're calling them Walk Behind Me. And I was like, no, that can't, they're not. He's like, well, they're losing all the races. Maybe that's what they're calling them, Walk Behind Me. So every time I see Wapahani, that's what I automatically think of is Walk Behind Me.
There's, Wapahani was classified as Cowan's rival. I never looked at them as our rival because, one, they were always usually a lot better than us in most sports, but also the fact that, like, I don't know, I'd put Daleville or I'd put Westell in that category before I'd really go Wapahani. But if you think about, like, what high school kids could do with the phrase Wapahani, then you can kind of guess what they were known around.
Wapahani.
Yeah, exactly, around Cowan. So, but yeah, it's going to be an exciting second round game. And it'll be interesting to see what happens there. For 3A, I'm going to look at Sectional 19, which was the sectional that produces another, exciting situation here. In one corner,
one versus number two.
In one corner, you have number one John Glenn. They're 21-1, 5-0 against the teams
fighting out of the red corner.
They are
the astronaut from the state of Indiana, John Glenn.
They are 5-0 against sectional 19 teams. They are 10-0 against 3A teams. Their only loss is to 4A Penn on the season, so that's pretty incredible. In the other corner, in the other mount, you have number 2 Mishawaka Marion. They're 18-3. Their only 3A loss on the season was to John Glenn back in January. The earlier meeting between these two clubs, John Glenn won 49-44. It was close throughout for the Falcons. They had 3 players in double figures. Jack Porter scored 14 points. He was 3 of 8 from 3 points. For the Knights, they had 2 players in double figures. Richard Brooks had 18 points. He was 4 for 9 from beyond the arc. So we could get we're basically going to get could potentially get a state finals caliber matchup in the sectional championship if both teams make it to next Saturday.
Oh, I know. See, that's what I was talking about earlier. Like, I know fans of both of these teams are going, come on. Like, we have to face each other this early. Like, no, this should be the state championship matchup. Yeah. To be honest, and it's a shame that it's not.
I don't know how you remedy that. I don't know how you remedy that either. I mean, because it's all based on region and regions, yeah. Which I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that earlier. Could you imagine if that's how they did the NCAA tournament? They're like, okay, we're going to take the 17 best teams from the Midwest, the 17 best teams from the West, the 17 best teams from the East, and the 17 best teams from the South. We're going to kind of rank them all separately, and then that's the teams. It doesn't matter. It's just the top 16 get in. Could you imagine? So you could have, in like one bracket, you could have like Purdue, Notre Dame, IU. I'm just thinking of Indiana teams. Butler. Yeah. I know they won't make the tournament, but Ohio State. All those teams would be in the same bracket, and they would basically
Michigan State, Illinois.
Right.
It's basically, and when you get to that, it's like, well, that's the Big Ten.
That's the Big Ten championship.
Okay,
yeah.
So in the East we have the ACC. Right. In the South we have the Big 12 and the SEC.
That would be
out west we have
Gonzaga,
West Coast Conference, Gonzaga, and the Pac-12. So right. Yeah, but I guess it is tough. I mean, there is no remedy to it, unfortunately. But that's the thing about Indiana high school basketball. Of course, I guess there is one remedy: classless basketball. Go back to one large class and go from there. But still, it wouldn't be fair, because then occasionally you have teams like, when I went through high school, 4A was loaded with NBA talent. Right. At the time. I mean, I just off the top of my head, within our own conference, even 4 NBA players, 4 at one time. But yeah, this sectional is the state championship will be won right here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
there's not much else you can say about it. I mean, that's just the truth. Mishawaka Marion, you've seen him there before, get deep. I want to see John Glenn get deep, just because if I'm seeing a school named John Glenn, I'm thinking, oh, they're 1A. They're 1A. They have to be. I've never heard of John Glenn High School before. It's got to be 1A, right? Nope. Missed the bus on that one.
Yeah, and like you said, there isn't really a remedy for it, because the only reason it's like this is because these two teams happen to be ranked at the top next season. They could be, it's not like it's like, college basketball where some of the same teams could, are at the top, because of recruiting. So, right. I mean, the next year, the number 1 and 2 teams could be completely spread out. So, but yeah, it is going to be wild. Moving on to sectional 10, that's what I've got in 4A. Because that one has 4 ranked teams. Again, chaos. That's what I love about
this one. Always is chaotic,
right?
Always. And it was even chaotic before they restructured how this sectional looked,
right?
So I will tell you, I mean, it's always been a battle. This one has.
Well, I mean, for starters, I mean, you've got number 8 Cathedral, who's 3-1 versus sectional 10 teams. They beat Attucks and Warren Central. They won the Indy City tournament with an 80-64 win over Tech, who's also in this sectional. You've got number 11th Lawrence North, the Fighting Peascots. They're number 11. They're 3-1 against sectional 10 opponents. They defeated Attucks, Lawrence, and North Central. You also have Arsenal Tech, who's number 15. They're 4-1 against sectional 10 teams. They defeated Lawrence Warren, and North Central. They defeated
Lawrence Central. Get it right.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying because
they beat LC.
Well, right, but I didn't really want to say Lawrence Central, Warren Central, and North Central, so I condensed it. I said Lawrence, Warren, and North Central. So I was trying to save on words, but now you made me explain it. So now it's I could have just said all the centrals. This is kind of like Kevin in The Office. Why use a lot word when few words do trick? But yeah,
Yoda.
They did beat Cathedral 80-73 in December. So I mean, you've got Attucks you've got Tech and Cathedral, who are 1-1 against each other, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, but Tech and Cathedral, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, especially because I was going to say they were a little chippy at the end of the city tournament.
And it wasn't the players. It wasn't it was the coaches.
It was a Michigan-Wisconsin scenario.
What is it with coaches here recently? Calm down.
It'll be fine. Yeah, the game was called with 19 seconds left. And then you've got North Central. They did lose to Fishers, so they may not be ranked by the time we get to the sectional.
But Fishers is a sneaky good team this year.
Right. And that's the thing, too. Like, I thought about going with, that sectional with Carmel and Fishers, but those are the only 2 ranked teams in that in that bracket. So I mean, yes, you have 2 top 5 teams,
It's
but
gonna be Carmel,
right.
Yeah.
But you know, I also, this is a North Central team that did beat Ben Davis for the Marion County tournament, so that's pretty incredible as well. So you've got a lot of good teams in this bracket. So essentially, you're going to lead 3 of the 4A ranked teams in the sectional play, and like I said, I love the early chaos, and I love the possibility of round 3 with Cathedral and Tech. So it's going to be a very fun sectional to watch.
Yeah, this one was always fun. So I'm trying to remember back. I'm pretty sure when I was in high school, this sectional had all these teams except Tech was not in it. It was Arlington, which at the time was also one of the best teams in the state. They had a player that I can't remember his name, but he went on to play at Cincinnati. And
Lance Stevenson?
No, it wasn't Lance Stevenson. This guy ended up not really doing anything once he got to Cincinnati. I don't even think he finished his career at Cincinnati, but they actually beat LN in the regular season. And it was a bad, it was for the sectional championship, I think it was my junior year. And it was like, oh, this is too close. This is like worrisome. But yeah, this sectional is always the fun one. And let's be honest, this is the one that's probably going to be shown on TV. It always is on my ND TV, and Greg Ragshaw will be probably calling these games, but it's always the one. It is a fun one. It's a hard fought sectional. I just remember, watching these in high school, and then you would go on to regionals where guess what? To get past regionals, you either got to beat Carmel or Pike. So it was always like, okay, if you can get past regionals, we're going to make it to the state championship game. But yeah, this one's a dogfight always. And yeah, like you said, the Carmel Fisher sectional is another good one, but those are the only 2 ranked teams. Honestly, because these teams right here in this sectional, I just feel like they're very evenly matched. Usually, sometimes you got 1 or 2 teams from the sectional, you go, okay, this is the team that's going to run away with it. They're going to come out of here. One of these 2 teams will come out of here. I look at it this year and I go, it's a toss-up. I feel like any one of these teams could honestly come out of this sectional. I don't think this year, though, you will see the state champ come out of this sectional, but you could see one of these teams make a surprising run to the state championship game.
Well, that will do it for this week's edition of the Hoosier High School Huddle. Thank you guys all for tuning in to this inaugural run. It was a lot of fun. So good luck to all the girls basketball teams competing in state finals. Good luck to all the boys teams who get underway on Tuesday. Like I said, next week will be a fun one. We'll be diving into those boys sectional games. Remember that you can follow us at 3C Media Sports on Twitter. Like us on Facebook, 3C Media. Make sure you give some love to the 3C Media YouTube channel and TikTok. And remember that you can listen to us every week on not only Anchor, but you can listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So for that, it's going to be a fun postseason. We're excited to be here for you. But until next week, have a good one, everybody.